Vine bounced into her office, her arms laden with folders and a bright smile on her face. She just had received a call from a high profit client looking to book her services for a lavish wedding. This was the big break she had been waiting for, and she couldn't contain her excitement. Good morning, everyone. I have some amazing news, Ryan announced, setting the folder down on her desk with a flourish. Her colleagues looked up from their work, intrigued by her exuberant energy. Ryan was known for her bubbly personality and infectious positivity, making her a favorite among the team. I just got a call from a new client who wants us to plan their wedding. And not just any wedding, it's going to be a grand affair. Van exclaimed, doing a little happy dance in the middle of the office. Her colleagues cheered and clapped, genuinely happy for the success. Van quickly delved into the details of the new project, her mind already racing with ideas and possibilities. Okay, so I'll be meeting the clients tomorrow at a restaurant. And then we'll proceed with the ideas after knowing their preferences. Is that clear? She said, earning okays and nods from everyone. Van had been feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness as she entered the upscale restaurant to meet her new client for the first time. She was on a call with a manager lady who gave her directions to reach them. As she reached the room, her eyes scanned the room, quickly landing on the table where a woman waved her hand. Van smiled, waving back, but that smile faded in a blink of an eye as she saw Taehyung sitting with his fiancée, mom, and aunt. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized him, a flood of memories rushing back. She froze in her track as if someone had put a ton of weight on her. He was busy on his phone to notice, but she couldn't even move her gaze away. Taehyung was getting married. Her ex was getting married and she was the one to plan his wedding. She stood there until she heard the manager on the phone. Miss, she came back from the trance of memories and recovered from the sudden shock. Yeah, coming. Hanging up the call, she made her way towards the client. As she approached the table, Taehyung looked up and their eyes met. His expressions were same as hers. The shock was clear in his eyes as he gazed at her. There was a flicker of recognition in his gaze, quickly masked by a polite smile. Vine forced herself to maintain her professional demeanor, plastering on a smile as she greeted the group. Hello, I am Vine, your wedding planner. It's lovely to meet all of you, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Taehyung's mom and close aunt greeted her warmly, but Taehyung's fiance looked slightly puzzled at the subtle tension between Vayan and Taehyung. Mrs. Jeon, who had always adored Vayan like her own daughter, noticed the unspoken connection between the former couple. Vayan, dear, it's so wonderful to see you. We are thrilled to have you on board for Taehyung's wedding. The aunt said, giving Vayan a knowing look. Vayan felt a lump form in her throat at the mention of Taehyung's name. She forced a smile and nodded. trying to push down the rush of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. As they sat down to discuss the wedding details, Wyan couldn't help but steal glances at Taehyung. He looked handsome as ever, his eyes betraying a hint of longing that mirrored her own. She could sense the tension between them, the unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. I'm so glad you chose me to plan your special day, Wyan said, her voice slightly strained. Taehyung cleared his throat, his gaze meeting hers. I knew you would do an amazing job. You've always had a talent for making dreams come true. The words hit Wyan like a punch to the gut. She knew he was referring to their past together. The dreams they had once shared before everything fell apart. She swallowed hard, trying to push down the surge of emotions threatening to spill over. You guys know each other? Mina asked, her eyes flickering over to both Wyan and Taehyung. Mrs. Jeon answered, oh yes, they were in a. Before she could complete, Mrs. Kim cut her off and said, friends. They were very good friends. Since high school, Taehyung's mom forced a smile, looking at Mina, who nodded. Oh, this is amazing. Your friend will be planning our wedding, Taehyung. She exclaimed, clinging onto his arm. He glanced at Wyan before looking away, giving Mina a little nod. Yeah, it's amazing, he said, looking down, scared that if he would look up, all the emotions would be reflected through his eyes. The eyes that Wyan never failed to read. As the discussion continued, Mrs. Kim told Ryan that the wedding will be held next month. And for the flowers, we will go for roses, Mina said, and Ryan frowned, looking at Taehyung. Roses, but Taehyung likes yellow lily. She spoke, not realizing what she said, quickly shutting her mouth. She looked down. I mean, soon Taehyung spoke with a heavy sigh. My preferences have changed over the time. And that word like daggers on Ryan's heart. She knew it wasn't just about flowers. Nodding slowly, she wrote it down in her notebook. After the discussion, they all stood up. Meena shook hands with Ryan, who accepted the handshake with a smile. I will not disappoint you guys. The wedding will look no less than a Disney movie. That's my guarantee. She spoke and Meena nodded. Of course, we trust you, Ryan, especially because you have been Taehyung's friend. I know you'll do your best. Ryan's smile faltered as she composed herself. As everyone left, Mrs. Jeon waited and quickly gave Ryan a motherly hug, patting her head. How have you been, dear? Mrs. Jeon and Ryan had a similar personality, the bubbly, chaotic, and clumsy one. This was one of the major reasons they were close to each other like a mother and daughter duo. I've been good. What about you? You're taking your medicines on time, right? Mrs. Jeon laughed. You still haven't changed, my baby. Yes, I'm taking my medicines on time. Don't worry, I. Before she could talk some more, Mrs. Kim's voice called her, leaving their conversation cut short. Okay, dear, I'll see you in the wedding, yeah? Mrs. Jeon caressed Ryan's head as a loving gesture before leaving. Ryan was left there alone, the smile fading away. She knew it was going to be one hell of a task.